Howdy folks, a bit different type of video today, sort of a little vlog kind of thing about a topic I just kind of want to talk about a little bit, get my thoughts out, and that is the closure of the 3DS and to a lesser extent the Wii U eShops. Today, the day I'm uploading this video, both eShops on both consoles are closed. No more purchases can be made, no more downloads. I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've seen all the posts saying like, buy what you can when everything's on super sale. And it just kind of, it sucks when a whole library of games, or two libraries of games in this case, become more inaccessible, meaning you pretty much only can get these in physical form now, which, you know, this will make the prices of those go up. I've checked a couple. I just spot checked a couple on price charting from older and newer ones, and the prices have gone up just a little bit, on average about $1 per game. It's, for the most part, it's still not actually very hard to find these. You can still get them. It's not like they're lost media like the Scott Pilgrim game was for a couple years there until it got re-released. I say for the most part, though, because there's one game in particular I want to talk about that had a really kind of bizarre, by today's standards, release. And, well, it's much, much harder to find now. Well, one aspect of it is. And the game I'm talking about is this one. I'll just hold it closer to here. Fire Emblem Fates. Now, if you're familiar with the Fire Emblem series, you know that this Fire Emblem Fates released in two different versions, kind of like Pokemon games. We had here the boxes. There's the Birthright and then Conquest. I have the special edition, which has both on one cartridge, and that's what I want to talk about because there's a third version of this game as well. I believe it was Fire Emblem Revelations, and that was only available on DLC or this cartridge. The special edition, being a Fire Emblem liker for a while now, I when this game came out and they were releasing it, I kind of knew I wanted to play all of them, and I saw that the special edition had all three, so I figured, well, duh, that's the one I'm gonna get then. Not gonna waste my time buying both versions and then the DLC, when for the price of both versions without purchasing the DLC I could get all three. So I got the special edition and didn't really think much of it at the time. But over time, this tiny little piece of plastic has become essentially the most valuable game in my collection. And I have quite a large collection behind me. I consider myself a collector. I don't necessarily consider myself an investor. I'm very proud of the collection I have. It's not the biggest collection, but I'm proud of it, at least, especially my GameCube collection. I'm very, very happy with that. But with the eShop closing now for the 3DS, the Revelations, which was, like I said, DLC only, if you don't have it on your 3DS already, this is the only way to get it. And like I said, most of the physical games aren't too expensive. For the most part, most games are going to run you, if not just around as much as they would cost brand new, because Nintendo never makes their stuff cheaper. Not far from it. A lot of the games in my collection, my 3DS collection at least, are, you know, still within that $30 to $45 range. Fairly reasonable. I'd love if they were lower though. Despite the fact I'm very proud of my collection and love adding older stuff to it, I think games should be accessible to everybody. I think if a company is no longer actively selling these games and has no way to currently profit from them, they should be readily available. I think it's really scummy that Nintendo goes after like ROM websites and all that kind of stuff, and it's gross all around. I think games like this should be accessible, and for some of their oldest stuff, they've done a pretty good job of making those reasonably accessible. Re-releases on pretty much every console, whether they be in eShop form or like on the Switch, available for like if you have the Nintendo Online subscription, you pretty much get like a big chunk of NES and Super NES, and now some Game Boy games as well, which is great. N64 stuff and Sega Genesis stuff if you have like the higher versions of these, but I'm not going to get into that. I don't have that. I still have, you know, some N64 games down there. But this Fire Emblem one, you know, a lot of indie games, you know, you see a lot of them released on multiple consoles. You see them released on Steam. So a lot of those are still available. So for example, some games, as I was looking through the collection, Steam World Dig, Gunman Clive, a lot of the stuff that was on the on sale section of the 3DS eShop, readily available on Steam. Easily accessible, and you get it on Steam, you have it in your library for forever. But first party Nintendo stuff is a lot different. Things don't tend to not get re-released or released on other consoles unless it's the Wii U. Like I said, the Wii U eShop shutting down doesn't super matter because a lot of the biggest stuff has been re-released on the Switch. There's some stuff that's going to be lost there, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, a lot of that stuff is at least available on a current console. But for the 3DS being a very kind of unique console as far as just being a handheld with two screens, the DS to a lesser extent, but there was never really an eShop for the DS. It just sucks to see this digital store closing down. But the point I wanted to make here is, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, a lot of the stuff is pretty readily available if you want to go on eBay and buy them. You're not gonna find them at this point, 3DS stuff, for not too much more than you would if you were just to buy them at the store. But this cartridge alone will run you between $450 and $500 these days. Like I said, this has become essentially like pretty much the most expensive game in my collection, even more than that Earthbound cart right up there. Comparable to it, I would say. And Earthbound is readily available on the Switch and everything. This Fire Emblem, like, good luck if they ever re-release this stuff. I am honestly shocked that we haven't seen kind of a remake or re-release or remaster of the two Ike games, Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. So God knows that's probably coming before we're going to see a Conquest and Fates Fates Birthright Conquest. We're probably not going to see it re-released ever. So the point I was trying to make here is, yes, some games are pretty easy to find, but this one particular Fire Emblem game that I still haven't played the Revelations path, but from what I understand, it's not the best Fire Emblem game. It's really weird and bizarre, even for Fire Emblem standards. No one should have to pay $500 to play a game that was formerly easily accessible via a digital download. It just kind of sucks all around, and I just kind of wanted to highlight this one really weird release for a game. The only game I know of for the Wii U that was digital only was, like, I think Fatal Frame 5, but even that has been re-released on current consoles. So to my knowledge, there's nothing like super weird like that that'll be kind of like lost forever that was eShop only for first party stuff. And Nintendo is continually like the biggest offender for this kind of stuff. I'll still never forgive them for taking Mario 35 away from us. That was a very, very fun game that I miss often. But yeah, so I hope that you were able to get some 3DS stuff downloaded. If you haven't touched your console in a while, maybe go back and revisit it. There's some good stuff on there. And if you're someone who likes to collect physical games, not investment advice, but probably scoop any 3DS games you've been wanting up sooner than later, because the prices are probably just going to climb up from here now that the eShop is closed. Did I have a real point for this video? Not really. I just kind of wanted to talk about like this one really, really weird case and just kind of highlight how it sucks, and just kind of the thing that I've been thinking about the most with the closure of the eShop. I know, there's a whole conversation to be had about game preservation and all that kind of stuff, and I touched on that a little bit, but I just think it's just kind of a shame that like this one particular aspect of a game is just kind of going to be lost forever. Or you shell out $500 for it, which, like I said, nobody should have to do. Oh well. I'm sure you can find ROMs of this lying around somewhere. I didn't really have a point for this. I just kind of wanted to share just something I was thinking about with the closure of this stuff. So, I don't know. Like and subscribe, whatever. See ya.